The morning began like any other in Nahariya. The coastal breeze carried the scent of salt and citrus, and families prepared for school and work. But at 9:42 a.m., that normalcy shattered. A piercing siren wailed across the city, followed by a thunderous explosion that shook buildings and hearts alike. The Iranian Al-Nasr missile had struck. Residents described the sound as a freight train colliding with steel. Windows shattered, car alarms screamed, and smoke billowed from the impact zone near a residential block just 2 streets from the city center. Emergency services rushed in, navigating debris and chaos. 2 civilians, Ziv Belfer, 52, and Shimon Najam, 54, were killed instantly. Their stories, now etched into the city's memory, were reminders of how fragile peace can be. The missile, launched from Iranian territory as part of Operation True Promise 2, had bypassed Israel's Iron Dome system, a chilling testament to its precision and power. Residents who had seconds to react found shelter in stairwells, basements, and reinforced rooms. One woman, clutching her toddler, recounted how the blast threw her off her feet. "I thought it was an earthquake," she said, "but then I saw the fire." Nahariya, known for its serene beaches and vibrant community, had become a war zone in an instant. The city's mayor declared a state of emergency, urging residents to remain indoors and avoid damaged areas. The missile's impact left a crater nearly 12 feet deep, surrounded by scorched earth and twisted metal. For many, the question wasn't just how, but why. Why Nahariya? Why now? The answer lies in the broader conflict simmering across the region. October 2024 marked a turning point in the Iran-Israel tensions. The Al-Nasr missile wasn't just a weapon, it was a message. Iran's Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps had executed a series of coordinated strikes targeting Israeli military infrastructure, including Nevatim and Tel Naf air bases. But Nahariya wasn't the military site. It was civilian. That's what made the attack so jarring. Analysts believe the strike was symbolic, a demonstration of reach and retaliation. Nahariya's proximity to the Lebanese border made it vulnerable, especially with Hezbollah's growing presence. In fact, just weeks prior, Hezbollah rockets had also hit the city, causing casualties and widespread fear. The Al-Nasr missile, however, was different. It was faster, heavier, and more accurate. Defense experts noted its trajectory was calculated to avoid early detection. Israel's radar systems, overwhelmed by simultaneous threats, failed to intercept it. The aftermath revealed gaps in national defense protocols. The IDF launched an investigation into why the missile wasn't intercepted and whether the Iron Dome needed upgrades to counter newer threats. Meanwhile, the psychological toll on Nahariya's residents deepened. Schools closed indefinitely. Businesses shuttered. Mental health hotlines saw a surge in calls. The city's hospital, already strained, converted its underground parking into a trauma ward. Volunteers poured in from neighboring towns, offering food, blankets, and blood donations. The resilience was palpable, but so was the fear. Every siren now triggered panic. Children asked if the sky was safe. Parents struggled to explain geopolitics to 5-year-olds. Nahariya wasn't just hit, it was changed. 3 days after the strike, Nahariya's streets were eerily quiet. The scent of smoke lingered, and the hum of generators replaced the usual chatter of cafes. Cleanup crews worked around the clock, clearing rubble and restoring power. But the emotional debris was harder to remove. Survivors gathered at a makeshift memorial near the blast site. Flowers, candles, and handwritten notes covered the fence. "We will rebuild," one sign read. Another simply said, "Why us?" The Israeli government pledged 200 million shekels in emergency aid. Prime Minister Netanyahu visited the city, promising swift retaliation and enhanced security. But many residents felt exposed. "We're not soldiers," said a local shopkeeper. "We're families. We're children. We're not supposed to be targets." The media coverage was relentless. News vans lined the streets, broadcasting live updates and interviews. International outlets picked up the story, framing it as a flashpoint in the escalating Iran-Israel conflict. Social media buzzed with hashtags like #PrayForNahariya and #Al-Nasr strike. But amid the noise, real stories emerged. A teenager who shielded his younger siblings during the blast. A nurse who stayed behind to treat the wounded despite her own injuries. A firefighter who pulled 3 people from a collapsed building. These weren't just headlines, they were heroes. The city council organized community healing sessions, inviting psychologists and trauma specialists. Schools began remote learning, and shelters were reinforced. The sense of unity grew stronger. Nahariya wasn't just recovering, it was resisting. The missile had aimed to break spirits. Instead, it ignited resolve. Beyond Nahariya, the ripple effects were felt across Israel. Cities like Haifa, Acre, and Tiberias heightened their alert levels. The IDF deployed additional batteries of the Iron Dome and Arrow systems. Military analysts dissected the Al-Nasr specs, noting its solid fuel propulsion and evasive flight path. Iran's message was clear: no place is out of reach. In Tel Aviv, Parliament debated emergency defense funding. Opposition leaders criticized the government's preparedness, while defense officials called for international support. The U.S. condemned the strike, reaffirming its alliance with Israel. European nations issued statements of concern, urging de-escalation. But on the ground, Nahariya's residents weren't thinking about geopolitics. They were thinking about safety, about rebuilding, about mourning. The funeral for Ziv Belfer and Shimon Najam drew hundreds. Their families spoke of love, laughter, and the cruel randomness of war. "He was just getting coffee," said Najam's daughter. "He didn't deserve this." The missile didn't discriminate. It didn't ask for affiliations or beliefs. It simply destroyed. And yet, in its wake, it revealed something powerful: the human capacity to endure. Nahariya's schools began reopening one by one. Children returned, clutching backpacks and stuffed animals. Teachers greeted them with hugs and stories of courage. The city's heartbeat, though bruised, began to steady. Art installations appeared near the blast site. Murals of peace, resilience, and hope. One depicted a dove rising from rubble. Another showed hands holding the city's skyline. Nahariya wasn't just rebuilding structures. It was rebuilding identity. The final chapter of this story isn't written yet. Nahariya continues to live under the shadow of conflict, but also under the light of community. The missile strike was a moment of violent punctuation in a long, complex sentence. But it didn't define the city. What defines Nahariya is its people. Their strength, their unity, their refusal to be broken. The Al-Nasr missile may have hit its target, but it missed its purpose. It didn't instill fear, it inspired defiance. In the weeks that followed, Nahariya held a citywide vigil. Thousands gathered, candles in hand, singing songs of peace. Children released paper lanterns into the sky, each carrying a wish. Let us be safe. Let us be strong. Let us be heard. The city's mayor announced a new initiative, Project Shield. It would fund reinforced shelters, trauma care, and community resilience programs. Donations poured in from across the country. Nahariya became a symbol, not of victimhood, but of resistance. And as the world watched, one thing became clear. Missiles can destroy buildings, but they cannot destroy spirit. The story of Nahariya is not one of devastation. It's one of survival, of remembrance, of rebuilding, and above all, of hope.